Welcome to your favorite HR person's favorite HR podcast. And I swear one day that is going to stick. And thank you, Chapel Roland, for coming up with that very famous saying. Maybe it'll stick after this episode. Who knows? Unfortunately, or fortunately for all of you, I have been watching a lot of improv. So this podcast is very improv related. So get ready because it's going to be a hodgepodge of fun things. I'm testing out some new segments, but do not worry because this episode will still deliver on the theme I've had this entire season about teach me something I don't know. And today's guest will do that. And none of it would be possible without my amazing guest who agreed to my unhinged proposal to turn this a little bit into an improv podcast. You might recognize him from previous seasons, but here's a refresher on how effing cool my friend Chris is. Chris is the Chief Executive Officer at AstutEdge, where he consistently delivers impactful, transformational strategies and identifies diverse human capital needs while strategically matching those needs with proven solutions. We love the solutions here. Prior to AstutEdge, Chris served as an executive-level trusted advisor to the C-suite, board member, senior leaders, and client teams. He's also the brilliant author of a newsletter called PVE, Professional Villain Era. Chris, did I miss anything? Is that a good enough intro?
This is great.
Like
Thank you. Always. You always do your thing. I appreciate that.
I don't know. I don't know if I was really... I feel like I could have hyped it up more, but everyone who listens knows how crazy and kooky I get during these. I've now decided kooky is a word I will accept to describe me. Multiple people have used it in the last week. What's your feeling on the word kooky?
Well, I need context. Why did they use that word to describe you?
I have no idea. Apparently, I give off kooky aunt vibes. Someone said Miss Frizzle from Magic School Bus.
That's like a really high compliment. I'm not
right.
Lie. Yeah.
She was like smart and cool and wore cool outfits and like was magic. So
yeah, mysterious and trustworthy, which is impossible to pull off.
I'll take that. I can't believe anyone would think I'm mysterious because I literally pour my heart and soul out on this podcast, and everything you need to know about me, you could learn from just listening to this podcast. But
that's true.
Before I get to today's fun and weird episode, a magic school bus, if we may call it that, I have been asking every guest this season, what's one area or topic not related to HR that you have just been super interested in? And it can be anything. I'm just genuinely curious to know about people's interests.
I have become really interested in the linkages between political discourse and the economies within countries. I think we're in a very interesting space. And historically speaking, I've been a little bit ignorant to that. So I think it's time for me to do some research.
I love that. And whatever you learn, you have to share with me because I possibly don't know as much as I should know.
Gladly.
We can always learn. I mean, that's why I did this whole season. We could all learn more that we need to learn.
Right.
I love that. I have also just been trying to understand more of the world. And if I, like the way I've been doing that is like if I could read more about other places and try to just like genuinely take that information and like grapple with like what I'm currently experiencing, that's kind of my form of resistance too. It's like I will teach myself and learn the things I need to learn to like better understand what I'm actually experiencing.
I think a lot more work should be done by all of us in understanding the difference between perception and perspective. And introspection would be good too, but having more of an openness, having a bit more openness.
I keep joking that we have like lost all of our sense of curiosity as like a human, human population. I don't know what the right word there is at the end of the day, so I'm struggling. But people just like don't ask why anymore, or they just accept things as facts. And I'm like, anyone can lie to you. We all recognize that, right? It's like we should be curious about like the information we're processing and who's telling us and why and what is their incentive.
Yeah, I think there's more of an emphasis, unfortunately, of being right than being accurate. And you add in like tribalism, which has been rampant for the last like 15, 20 years. And that intellectual curiosity feels like it's gone, or at least from the majority of people. It's not completely gone, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough really, not only being in like our spaces and what we do professionally, but I think it's just tough to be in community because like what is community at this point?
Yeah. And I mean like, I don't want to be fighting people telling them they're wrong. I just like don't, because there's so many people are wrong.
Yeah.
So I started that sentence and I was like, actually, I do want to be fighting people. I do. I think the other part of that is like, I actually welcome being told I'm wrong about something. Like if I have
Right.
a fact incorrect or I have a misbelief about something, I think I like genuinely have trained myself to be like, okay, being wrong is okay. But I need to like listen to the other person potentially and like understand what they're trying to offer me. And by analyzing that and what I think, then I can say like, okay, I still feel X way about this. But we've just like lost that. Everyone's just like shouting at each other online. I'm like, can you all chill out?
I think that's part of the introspection though, because being wrong is a part of development. Development is a part of growth. So it just feels like when people dig their heels in, it is for a very specific point that doesn't necessarily equate to the present. And oftentimes that has to do with the past, or at least what they've known or what they're comfortable with. And again, that does not align with development and growth. And if you don't care about those things, then it makes sense why you want to pick fights over nonsense.
Yeah. It's wild because I'm really stubborn. But when you said dig their heels in and be wrong, my first thought was all my Aries friends. Every Aries I've encountered in my life. And I'm a rising Aries, so like we should really talk about that. Not to bring this about astrology, but like every Aries I've ever encountered in my life is like stubborn as fuck. Like my dad was super stubborn. And so I think maybe like seeing that, to be very clear, I was very stubborn early in my career and I still have very stubborn moments now in friendships and in relationships, but I'm working on it. But I think it's like really interesting. You have to like actively try. And I just don't know with everything going on that people have the energy to actively try.
I don't have notes for that.
No,
I mean, it's perfectly.
We'll end it there because we got to get to our fun segments, Chris.
Let's do it. It's all fun.
I'm so excited for this because this is truly chaotic. I pitched Chris on a bunch of my segments. I was like, let's do some like fun and weird segments. And our first segment is in the news. So what the fuck is going on in the world? I feel like I just briefly touched on it. But Chris and I picked an article to tell each other about and tell all of you about. So Chris, what article did you pick?
Yeah, so I cheated. I have an article that I'm actually going to put in my newsletter today, which is going to go out tomorrow, aka Professional Villainera, PV, as Hiba said earlier. We don't have shame when we do plugs. So basically this came up from an HR dive. It is an article based off of a Glassdoor survey. And for many of us in the space, we aren't terribly surprised by what they reported. Okay. But effectively what they're saying is the component of having a close relationship or having friends at work has become less important to the workforce today. And pretty significantly, this is not just a post-COVID or post-pandemic 2020 situation. It is something that it seems has been ticking down over probably the last 6 to 7 years or so. And within the article itself, I'd say that there's probably like 4 themes that they wanted to report on, which were the blurred lines of work-life balance starting to impact what those relationships actually being in the workforce itself, structural instabilities, increased job mobility, which I actually think those are in tandem more than maybe we give credit for, and then just generally speaking, the evolving workplace culture. And so the article, which of course is really supported by Adam Grant. I think he is a chief strategist for Glassdoor. Probably got
Adam Grant?
Yeah. Got to fact check me on that one.
Yeah, and I'm the chief strategist of, I'll think of something.
Or maybe it's just another Adam Grant. That would be funny.
Also, just hire me if you're looking for a chief strategist. I love to just, wax poetic about things I've seen in the world.
Please do. That's like its own tangent. But in any event, I think what I took from the article itself was it felt like a lot of emphasis on the employee side of these elements changing almost for the sake of changing. And I don't know if there was enough, for me at least, of how much organizations and employers have changed or maybe force us as employees to change and to just understand that friendships are important, relationships are important regardless, but we do need to have a little bit more time of touch and grass. So getting outside of the actual work bubble and then living life. I think on the back end of that, what I don't like in most articles, I'm actually not going to straight up accuse this article, but I don't like when most of these articles turn into like, did the employer pay you to give us more articles of how crazy and terrible employees are? Because this is very much a 50-50 type of situation. Yes, employees are acting differently or showing up differently in the workspace, but workspaces have changed pretty drastically, whether it's respect, trust, remote working, hybrid, all those aspects. It's obviously going to have impacts on the people and how people show up. So most articles, I think, are just, hey, people are being different and we don't know why. And it's like, no, we know exactly why. We should say those things out loud.
For sure. Do you have a best friend in life right now that you met at work?
That is a great question.
Because I just ran through my 3 best friends. Not that I rank my best friends, but I do tier them.
No, you definitely rank them. No, you definitely rank them. That's a lie. Yeah, I think I have quite a few.
Wow.
I don't have a best friend other than my wife, obviously.
Yeah. Partner.
Yeah, I have a few. I have a few in those circles, for sure.
That you've met from work.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy because I think, at least anecdotally from my experience, like you have the closest relationships from some of the worst environments, work environments. Like that toxicity, you find those people and you bear down, and then those are the relationships that just last.
Yeah. One of my closest friendships is somebody I used to manage. And
there you go.
She and I just like, first of all, the other day I was like, if somebody leaked our text,
a problem.
Because she and I also read fanfic. I won't out who she is, but she and I also read fanfic. So we're like talking to each other about some plot points. And I'm like, I never want anyone to know that this is what you and I are talking. But she's like such a good friend. I literally say the most unhinged things to all my friends, to be very clear. I just say like really unhinged things to her. And we met at work, and I sent her an article recently that was like, if you're friends with somebody for longer than 7 years, the chances are you'll be friends with them long term. And she and I are coming up on like our 6th year of being friends. And she was like, oh, really? You had to send that to me when we haven't even hit our 7 years? And I was like, whoa, you are my best friend. Like, calm down.
Well, even think about that linkage, right? To the article's credit about talking about these relationships in the workplace. We don't have tenures that we can expect to be in the same role or organization for 7 years, which used to be crazy.
Yeah.
So I think as we are changing as humans, it's happening not only because of things like global pandemics, but we are still feeling the reverberations of how much the workplace has been changing as rapidly as it's been changing recently.
I've never been that unrealistic HR person who thinks that everyone's going to be best friends at work. Like, do you think HR should play an active role in like fostering friendships at work? Or should we play more of a role of like fostering experiences that could lead to that? But like, I'm not over here being like, how do I make everyone be best friends?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the latter. I think socialization versus engagement is a pretty big theme out of just the article itself. But when it comes to what HR is tasked with, it's already too much. And so we got to keep the main thing. I do think that HR is responsible for creating opportunities for team members to not only interact with one each other when being productive, but otherwise, because again, we are humans. We're not dropping that at the door. But Gallup has that best friend at work. It's something that they have in their surveys. When I was with the organization, and even to this day, it is the one question on their employee engagement survey that I talk about the most, because it's like, I don't know, just feels so ridiculous until you understand like the science and the information behind it. But no, I don't think the onus needs to be on HR of making sure that people are becoming friends as much as making sure that there are meaningful interactions for people to come together, and if friendships form.
Yeah, but I think it's just like so unrealistic to be like, yeah, you're going to find a best friend at work. I know why Gallup asked that question, and I know all the science behind it as well. And it really gave me pause. Because I was like, best friend, that's like I don't designate that honor to like many people. And like my closest friends have now traveled the world with me, lived with me. When I went to college with 2 of them. So it's like, that's an honor to be called my best friend.
Shout out to the best friends.
I'm such a jerk. I'm going to send this to them and be like, I talked about you. You better love me. They do love me. I don't think they listen to this podcast, thank God, because they already have to listen to my insane voice notes that I send them on a daily basis. So there's that. Okay. I love that best friend thing. We'll link it in the show notes so people can also read it.
Cool.
The article I sent you was actually sent to me by my CEO, because my CEO and I have this ongoing debate about return to office. First of all, he's not trying to send anyone back to the office, but I think he understands why a lot of CEOs want people back in the office. And we've been like, we talk about it. We listened to the Jamie Dimon leaked audio clip where he basically told employees, like, I don't care if you sign a petition or a million petitions, you're coming back to the office. So it's a conversation he and I have quite a bit. And he was like, hey, look at this. What do you think? So he sends me this article, and it's about Cameo, which is like that celebrity video messaging company, which, by the way, like, I would take a Cameo from my favorite reality TV star. No one's bought me one from Wes from The Real World, but a girl can hope. But basically, they offered employees a $10,000 raise to get them to return to the Chicago office and work in person for 4 days a week. And on top of offering them the raise, they also said employees who relocated closer to the office were eligible for an additional $5,000 bonus. And they have, to be clear, they have perks. They're giving them perks like lunches, paid parking, gym membership, all of that to enhance people coming in. And they really want people to come in because I think they believe it encourages productivity at work. What do you think? Would you take $10,000 to go back to the office? A $10,000 raise, not a bonus, a raise. It's your base comp.
Yeah. I mean, I'd need more information than that. Because if that 10,000 means I'm never going to get a raise again, then I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it has to be meaningful why we're coming into the office. I think one of the bigger proponents of this whole debate or this fight or whatever you want to call it, shout out to Jamie Dimon, though. He apologized for yelling. One of the biggest points of the debate is it feels like leaders and managers want people in so they can physically see them. Maybe not even necessarily to micromanage them, but more or less to be unintentional as to how they manage and how they develop and how they evaluate their people. Yeah. And so part of me feels like, well, can we do more of the work from the hybrid side to begin with before just saying, this is too tough, let's just go back to how things were before for the sake of it? Mm-hmm. And that's where some of my frustration lays. But for me, I don't know if I would take that, to be honest. I really don't.
I'm the kind of person who would consider it, but I would only consider it and ask like 50 other questions to be sure of all the other things before I ever agreed to it.
For sure.
But my problem is like, I'm a yapper. That's literally why I have this podcast. So like I go into the office and I yap. Yeah. If I'm not in a meeting, I'm yapping. So like, when am I getting my work done? So like, I love, like, listen, to each their own. A hill I will die on is forcing people to all work a certain way is not productive. I do believe in the power of like in-person collaboration just as much as I believe in the power of remote work. I just think we need to stop this all or nothing mentality where it's like everyone's going to work in this office or I'm like, we need to talk about like, how do we actually build systems and remove the barriers that are stopping us from working effectively? And frankly, like where we physically are located, I don't believe is the top barrier to how we're working together. I think a lot of companies struggle with communication and collaboration. And if you can figure out how to address those two and then come to me about where I physically work, I would rather have that be the situation.
I totally agree with that. The future and the present is hybrid.
Yeah. But it's so every week. Also, I keep popping off on TikTok every time I make a return to work video. It's like I have found my niche where people are like, this girl loves talking about remote work. We're going to follow her. Because like every video I make, either people are like, first of all, if you don't follow me on TikTok, maybe you should. Second thing, you should just follow me to read the comments because the comments were fascinating to me. Where there were people like, I made a video about how return to office 5 days a week mandates like disproportionately affect women, underrepresented groups, caregivers, and parents. And the comments were in the video that I made were wild because people were like, well, you shouldn't be a caregiver and have a job. And I was like, excuse me? Like we are dealing with like an aging population where like a lot of us, my sisters, my mother's caregiver. I'm like, again, back to the curiosity thing, we've also like lost our ability to empathize with others. Yeah. How you do something is not how everybody else is going to do something. The experience that you are having in life is very different from the experience a lot of people are having in life. So I'm over here being like, return to office mandates are going to hurt these people. And the people in the comments are like, well, they didn't deserve the job then. And I'm
It's
like,
nuts.
man, go argue with someone else. I ain't the girl you want to be arguing with because I don't give a fuck.
Again,
I don't care about you.
Perspective and perception need to be worked on, particularly because we are the sandwich generation. Millennials are. So having children, raising children, and then being caregivers for our aging parents or aging family members, like that is very much a thing. And so clearly that individual is wealthy. And so that must be where that opinion comes from.
Multiple people were like, you're stealing money from the company by looking after your child during work. I was like, what?
Okay.
Like, are you going to suddenly start telling me like me going to the bathroom is stealing money from the company? I understand why people were saying that, but like my thought is like, if they're getting their work done, who cares when they get it, like how they get it done? I just can't. This debate can go on forever, and I could probably do a whole episode just reading people's stupid ass comments that they sent me. Okay, on to our next segment, which I really wish that they would edit in some like fun noises in between these. Like maybe I could like create some original tracks, like boop 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 or something. I don't know.
Hint.
Poor people listening to this episode. Okay, this next segment is going to be called Professional Myths or Facts. I'm going to ask Chris about 5 myths, and he is going to debunk them, maybe, or tell me that they're fact. So here we go. Myth number 1, you need to work long hours to be successful. Myth or fact, Chris?
That is a myth. That is totally a myth. It's the quality of the time, not the quantity of time, which also goes back to what we were just talking about of where you work and how you work. So yeah, that's a myth.
Love it. Number 2, job hopping looks bad on a resume. Let me do that again. Job hopping looks bad on a resume.
That is a fact to those who are inexperienced.
That was such a good answer. Say more.
If you are just looking at the dash of how long someone has been in a seat or in an organization, you're totally missing out on the evaluation of how well that they can actually contribute to whatever team that you're evaluating them for. So one of the more common examples would be, if you're, again, just looking at the dash, that someone can be in a seat for 5 years and they only had like 3 months of experience, whatever they're now interviewing for or applying for. In the same vein, it could be a really hard 3 months, but we really have to make sure when we are assessing talent to join our organizations that we're actually assessing the talent and not just the icing on the cake that they're presenting us, which is just how long they've been there.
Yeah, I have had this debate. I had this debate with a CTO who said he would not hire somebody who had job hunted. And then I had to be like, or job hopped.
Yeah.
And I had to be like, hey, you don't know what they experienced. They could have been at a very toxic environment where their manager was maybe degrading them every day or made them feel uncomfortable or asked them to do things that they didn't want to. Like, you don't know what somebody else's experience is. So I never fault somebody for choosing to leave an organization that wasn't right for them, nor would I ever. So I'm with you.
And that's even with the fact that we don't always have the choice. If we look at just the last 5 years,
oh yeah,
any org that comes to mind has had a layoff. Any org that literally comes to mind has had a layoff. So if you're unfortunately one of those individuals who's been with a couple of those, like you might have 2, 3, crazy enough, 4 stops on your resume that it wasn't because you were a low performer. It's just because of the financial decisions that that leadership team made. And that's not your fault.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I mean, this was a good one I had to put in there because I knew we both have opinions on it. Okay, number 3, the best candidate is the one who interviews best.
Absolutely not. Myth. Big myth. Lies. Actually lies.
Legitimately lies.
Legitimately lies. I think what we've seen over time is verbal abilities have improved. And so not only has there been more resources and ways of hacking resumes and career coaching and things of that nature, that it does feel like people are really prepping for the interview itself. But once it's time to actually get into the role and do the work, we are seeing some pretty big gaps between who showed up for the interview and who shows up for the role.
Yeah, I feel like a big unlock for me professionally, and I felt a lot of privilege being able to do this, was when I would roll into an interview and be like, here are the reasons you shouldn't hire me. Like, you should not hire me if these are the things you're looking for, because that is not the person I am. And that was like, that was such a privilege for me. Like, listen, I understand if you're like job hunting right now, it is a tough market. I don't know what I would do in this current market, but I feel lucky that the last 2 roles I've taken, I've been very vocal in my interview process, being like, you should not hire me if X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm honestly just such a bad liar. Like, even in interviews, I'm like, I can't lie to you.
It's not worth lying.
Is not, because I don't want a job that they think I can do that I actually can't do, or worse, work with people that I don't think I could actually work with, especially in like the HR job.
For sure.
Okay. Myth number 4. Managers automatically make great leaders.
That might be a bigger lie than the previous prompt.
Say more.
Like, I'm shocked. I'm stunned. Like, give me a second. So we know just from the science itself, but not everyone should be a manager.
Definitely not.
Hard stop. But for whatever reason, we keep rejecting the science. But God, I'm like stuck on where to even go with this.
I have an insight on this because I'm talking about leadership potentially at Transform when I'm there next month on a panel. And we were prepping for the panel yesterday, and I made the bold statement, like, I don't think anyone's a good leader. Because like, we have not really, what is the preparation for said job? If you're going to say like an MBA, I'm going to be like, false, because I don't think an MBA makes you better at being a leader. If you're going to say like, who's giving leaders not very few are giving them on the job trainings.
Right.
I should probably reference that because I don't want to get canceled for saying I don't think anyone's a good leader. I don't think we prepare anyone to be a good leader. So just because somebody is good at managing does not mean they could be good at leadership, which requires you to be inspirational. It requires you to deal with like tumultuous change a lot of times, to communicate on a level managers don't communicate on. So maybe I'll stop there.
Yeah. And I'm sorry I blacked out. I feel like, give or take 7 to 10 years ago, we in the industry were doing better around succession planning, where we were starting to field like better methodologies as to how do we field what we actually need for our next leader or members of our leadership teams. Like, what's a framework to drop down into whatever client that we were helping and whatnot. And it just kind of fell off. To your point, being a good manager, people manager, group manager, whatever, there is something to the people part. So yes, empathy, and that is also important for leadership as well. But there is a lot of variation, and there's a huge leap between being a people manager and being an organizational leader. And from the leadership standpoint, being able to think and view things holistically without commoditizing your people, regardless of how large your organization is probably the linchpin as to what makes a good leader, in my opinion. But simply being a good manager, which is its own feat, like, let's give props to the good managers out there. It is not a element or a characteristic that means that they're going to be great in a leadership seat.
Yeah. I should take back my earlier statement and admit I was wrong. I shouldn't say broad generalizations like no one is a good leader. I'm saying this sarcastically and flippantly, but I mean it very sincerely with my deepest heart. So if you're listening to this and you work with great leaders, you are incredibly lucky and blessed. I think potentially the average person does not get to always work with great leaders. How about that?
Yeah, I think even what we were discussing before, like the best leaders that I can recall reporting to or working with, they got opportunities, yes, but they made a lot of mistakes, and they're open with those mistakes. They're open with the mistakes and the learning of how those experiences have helped them in the seat that they're in, and how they can help others, work towards being in the seat that they're in. So again, it's almost like the humility is another aspect, which you don't always necessarily need humility to be a good people manager, which might sound counterintuitive, but I think from a leadership seat, you absolutely do.
Would agree. Our last myth. This one might be my favorite. Our last myth. Sorry, I didn't mean to make them all myths. Sorry, some of these should have been facts, but clearly I didn't even read my own segment correctly. HR is only there to protect the company. Myth or fact?
Huh.
Ooh.
So it's a myth, but the reason that I have, the reason I had pause is everyone under the roof of the company effectively supposed to be one. But that's not how it actually manifests itself. That's not the practical approach or idea to this. So that's why it's on one hand, like it should be fact, but it's not, because there are lines that are drawn. There's also different types of HR professionals. There are HR professionals that understand that they're in a difficult spot and they want to protect their counterparts as best they can, whether they appreciate them or not. And there's other times where HR realizes that the leadership might be getting ran all over, and they want to protect the leadership and the organization a little bit more, because employees have found that they can push past some boundaries. So that is another great prompt by you.
Ain't that the truth? Okay, and that concludes our myth or fact segment. Boop, bada, boop. I really just stopped doing this. I had never wanted anything more in my life than to know how to beatbox right now for this exact segment.
I'm surprised you don't know how.
I don't know how. I really wish I could have learned. I had one friend in college try to teach me, and I was like, I'm going to be honest. I don't think I'm going to be good at this, so I should stop. I was like,
Are they one of your best friends or no?
I would consider him one of my best friends. Yeah, I do talk to him. Not every day, though, but he is one of my best friends. Yeah.
Okay.
See me through a lot of things. Okay, this next segment. I really have been watching a lot of improv lately. I would like to put a plug here. I'm not sponsored by them at all, but Make Some Noise is great. It's an improv show that I've been watching, and now I think I could be good at improv, but I don't think I should practice that here. Anyways, okay, this next segment is yes or no. And in this rapid fire, keyword their rapid fire segment, Chris can only answer yes or no. No explanations. Chris, are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Should HR be friends with employees?
Yes.
Is unlimited PTO actually a good policy?
No.
Should salaries be included in every job posting?
Yes.
Can company culture be measured?
No.
Do cover letters still matter?
Absolutely not.
Is culture fit just an excuse for bias?
No.
Should employees be required to return to the office full time?
No.
Can AI make hiring decisions better than humans?
No.
Is exit interviewing a waste of time?
No.
Should employees have the right to refuse performance reviews?
No.
Wow. Okay. I would have said yes to the employees refusing a performance review. Like, what if your manager says you're like a 2 and you're really like a 4 and they just hate you?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a real thing. That is a real thing.
This was yes or no. How'd you feel about only getting to answer yes or no?
Terrible. I feel differently about you now. I kid.
I'm so sorry. You're about to feel so differently after this next segment.
You're probably the only person I would allow to bully me in general, but like record it. Because yes and no for those questions are crazy.
I know.
They're crazy, because that's not how this world works.
Sorry, to everyone listening, we all know that there's gray area, right? Like not everything is black or white, but I really wanted to fuck around with Chris and see what he would come up with.
Great.
Which is exactly what I'm doing in this next segment called HR Raps. I'm so sorry. This is going to get me canceled, honestly, for sure. Chris, I asked, after watching Kendrick Lamar's Grammy performance, to be very clear, I've seen Kendrick Lamar 5 times. I've mentioned this so many times. I love this man. I saw him at 2013. I've seen him a lot, okay? Yep. I think his first album, Good Kid, Mad City, one of the best. I would put it in my top 10, probably best albums of all time. His most recent album, also great. Okay, but after the Super Bowl, I was really feeling it. So I asked ChatGPT, write me a Kendrick Lamar style rap. set to mimic his song Euphoria. I picked that, not like us, Euphoria. And pick up right after he says, "Now let me say I'm the biggest hater." Are you ready for this, Chris?
The amount of times that you and I have referenced this over text is, I mean, of course, this is what you asked ChatGPT to work well. So I love this. Let's do it.
Listen, ChatGPT was like giving me a little saucy attitude. It kept saying like, "You want me to keep going? I can stretch this into a full verse if you want more fire. You feeling this? I can tweak it if you want more bite." I'm like, who's coding ChatGPT? Because I think ChatGPT is flirting with me right now. Like, are you being mean to me? Is that you flirting, ChatGPT?
Negging
Okay,
you.
anyways, that's basically okay. I have to cover up your face while reading this because honestly, I will not be able to keep a straight face if you're laughing the whole time.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
This segment is called HR Raps. Here we go. I hope all of you don't cancel me after this. These are the cues ChatGPT has given me. Beat creeps back in, slow, haunting, eerie synth, floating like corporate fog. Now let me say I'm the biggest hater. Policies tighter than corporate data. Talk DEI, but the board all beta. They preach culture, then cut the payroll. Layoffs hit, but they say stay grateful. Recruitment slow, but the burn rate fatal. Leaders ghosting like exit tables. Beat builds, snare tap, bass creeping in like a bad Glassdoor review. They push wellness, then kill your budget, ask for feedback, then straight up dub it, bring your whole self till you cause discussions, then it's let's keep this closed door function, act like owners but stocks ain't vested, open door policy, doors stay tested. Beat shifts one more time. HR caught between lies and lessons. Execs want yes men, not hard questions. Talk succession, then block progression. Benefits nice till you need protection. Ghost positions, jobs don't exist, then wonder why the talent's jumping ships. Eerie hums, flows get colder, sharper. Culture decks full of empty lines. Perks ain't perkin' when you're working overtime. Mission statements, AI designated. I ask where the human at. Read the guidelines. People first. That's a dead refrain. Then drop the team just to pump the gains. Beat swells. Pause. Deep breath. Then snap back in. Friday Zoom call, cam stay black, hard decisions, we ain't looking back, profits up but the cuts stay deep, thanks for your time, we wish you peace. Reorg cycles, rinse, repeat, and they wonder why the trust's so weak. This HR life ain't what it seems. They sell a vision but kill the dream. Gotta move different, rewrite the script, or watch the whole damn system slip. The woman was too stunned to speak, is Chris right now.
And that is still a far better verse than anything Aubrey has put out in the last 12 years.
I used to love Drake, you know this.
That's fine.
What do you think of ChatGPT? Did it pull on all the right levers of what HR is experiencing?
ChatGPT's been paying attention.
And literally flirting with me.
That too.
The last thing it gave me, Chris, and I will, you'll have to answer this question. You wanted fire. I gave you an HR expose in bars. Want any tweaks, or is this hitting just right? Is it hitting just right, Chris?
It is. It is. The only, maybe I missed it, but mention of the golden parachute would also be important because that drives a lot of these bad decisions as well. But yeah, that hit the spectrum of what we experience in the workplace today.
When I was reading this, I was like, wait a minute, why is this actually kind of good? Like,
it's crazy.
I was kind of really shook. Like, excuse me, this is the best rap I think I've ever read. I loved the line, my personal favorite line, execs want yes men, not hard questions. Talk succession, then block progression. I was like,
that's real.
Ooh, that is so real. And then the perks ain't perkin' when you're working overtime. I giggle. I literally think about that line at least once a week. Perks ain't perkin' when you're working overtime.
So now it's living in your head rent free. The only notes I have for GPT is
yes, hit me.
If we are going to invoke Kendrick, there was nothing LA in there. There's nothing Compton in there. We got to throw something.
I know. Maybe next time. How about every episode you come on, we turn this into a real segment where I change the prompt every single time to see if it gets us a song closer to what we actually want. And then eventually I can ask the audio team to lay down a track for me and then I can rap over and turn it into something real.
I will commit to that. I'm down.
Oh my God, yes, now I've locked you in and it's public and it's on record, so you can't say no.
And then the segment can be, is this Kendrick or is this ChatGPT?
Oh, that's actually great. Oh, wait, that's a really good idea. That's the next time segment. But have you seen that guy on TikTok who sings, "We're living in a hostile government takeover"? I can't stop singing that song. So maybe I should also link that in the show notes too. Because I was like, this man made a whole song about this. I could make a whole song about HR.
Why not? And you got the pull on TikTok. Run with it.
God, no, my 1,200 followers. After this episode, though, all you be following me is going to be a lot more than 1,200. I actually want people to DM me and tell me on the unhinged meter of 0 to 10, 10 being ultimately very unhinged, what they would rate this episode as. Maybe I'll put that in the notes. Okay. We have reached our final segment, and I'm calling it Decode Me. Chris, in this segment, I'm going to give you 3 things HR probably definitely shouldn't say, and I want you to tell me how to say it professionally. Are you ready?
No, but we're going to run with it anyway.
Okay. What's your problem?
You good? No. What about, I'm sensing there may be more that you'd like to address with me, and I'd like to give you an opportunity to do that now.
Ooh, that's really good. Meanwhile, I'd be slacking, what's your problem all day long. Number 2, very relevant. Why can't you remember what I've told you? For every time you have to remind an employee, a manager, an executive, the thing that you have told them several times, and you don't want to be like, scroll up in the Slack or check your email or do this or do that. What's a professional way to, broach this?
Before I answer, can I just say for the record that you asking me as someone that you know is severely petty is also crazy to make me be on wax and be like professional and like a serious person. Yeah.
Hence
So
why I
let's get to
made
the
you
answer.
play this with me.
I see the vision. I see the vision. Shout out to you. How about we try? Why can't you remember what I've told you? We seem to revisit conversations or asks more often than not. How may I best deliver what I need from you differently?
Ooh, put it back on them. How may I best deliver? I love that. One's really good. Okay, this last one, I think to myself quite often, actually. But I would never say it to anyone. The thought is, that makes no sense at all. For when your manager is like, I want to fire someone, and they've given them no performance feedback, or when an executive tells you about a pivot they want to make, that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. How would you say that to them?
So I have a couple. I don't follow, use different words. I'm not sure I track where you're going. Can you use an example to illustrate your point or your question?
Ooh, I like that. But can you use an example? I love that. Might have to use that. Honestly, all of these I think to myself on any given time. And I lately have been asking ChatGPT, how do I say this nicer?
Sure. Yeah. Asking the robots how to be nicer is where we're at for sure.
No,
I honestly could have answered you good to all 3 of these.
Yeah. I think sometimes I saw this Instagram post and it made me laugh about this guy saying that he makes up corporate lingo in meetings. And then months later, when it like reemerges, he's like, I actually made that up. That's like not a real saying. I think about that all the time because sometimes I do worry. We end up like, I'll circle back to that or blah, blah. Like, I feel like we start talking like each other, like not each other, but like weird robotic versions. Like, again, asking ChatGPT. And then we actually forget to humanize the work being done, where it's literally like, if you are making no sense, I have told my CEO before, like, that makes no sense to me. Can you explain it again? Like, I've had to say that to him. Like, I'm not out there like yelling at my employees like, you're fucking stupid, because I would never do that. But like, we all have those thoughts that cross our mind. And I think a lot of times, instead of like trying to be professionally polite and coy about it, you often like miss the point when that's happening. And so if I have to like repeat myself a lot of times, I will say something like, it's really frustrating that I have to repeat this again. I like wrote you an email on this. We talked about it in a meeting. It's in our team notes. Like it's pinned in our Slack. There are lots of places you could have checked before having to ask me again. And so I think that, I don't know, sometimes I'm probably like too direct with people, but like sometimes I do really take I'm just going to say it exactly how it is, because it doesn't behoove me to like skirt around this issue in a weird way. And I also just don't think it builds trust with the person you're talking to. Like they can see you being inauthentic.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. Personally, of the several maxims that I dictate my life on, 2 are, I'm not fighting to be in rooms where I'm unwanted or unwelcome. And I am not interested in wondering where we stand. So if nothing else, which is what we tell our clients a lot, is the implicit needs to be explicit until we figure out that we are actually all on the same page. But to be left wondering or just not giving people the respect of here's the truth and here's what it is. And a lot of circling the drain, I think, is where we have been. And that's why things like return to the office rather, is like so palpable and so in some ways divisive, because it's like, why am I coming to this place where I don't trust you to be direct with me? Why am I coming to this place where I don't feel like I am safe enough to show up as I authentically am? So all that to say, I agree with you.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about that Nicole Kidman AMC thing where she's like, we come to this place for magic. I'm like, that's what we come to this podcast for, magic. Yeah. Not the office. I come to the office for free snacks and yapping.
Mostly the yapping.
It's mostly the yapping. Like I could talk to a wall, and if you sent me back to the office, I probably would. I'd be like, oh, the wall looks different today. Wonder why. Really should not be allowed out in the wild. Chris, thank you for hanging with me through my very fun and weird segments, and for letting me put you on the spot, and for listening to my HR rap and making me feel really safe and seen in that moment.
Now that's got to be a segment. I need to be involved. You could probably do better first week sales with those raps with ChatGPT than Aubrey will do for every album he has for the rest of his career.
Ugh, poor Drake. I really loved him at some point. Now it's all downhill for him. Kendrick. Yep. I mean, Kendrick has he has a lot of Grammys. He has not a Nobel Peace Prize, a Pulitzer. Yeah. He has a Pulitzer. Mm-hmm. This man it's poetic. Like this man is a poet. Sorry, I feel like I'm about to cry, honestly, but I am tearing up a little bit, but not because of crying. Not the first time I've cried at this pod. Okay, you'll have to come back and you'll have to do this again. I have one last question before I let you go, because you've already given me so much. So you write a newsletter called Professional Villain Era. What is your one tip for somebody who's trying to enter their professional villain era?
Ooh, one tip.
Mm-hmm.
Be as intentional as you possibly can as to what you want to get out of your career.
Oof. Okay, I'm going to think about that, because I probably could be more intentional too.
I'm sitting at a point now where I want to encourage people, don't get mad, build a platform. Build a platform and share what you know, or share what you see, share what you think. And being mad really doesn't help you progress to wherever it is that you are trying to go. But intentionality is everything. You need to know where you want to be, because if you are feeling like you're entering in that professional villain era, what you have identified is where you don't want to be. And that's not enough. We need to know and have targets. We need to get a little bit more hopeful. We want a future that we actually want to be in, versus constantly just trying to get out of where we currently are.
I love that. Oh, that's such a good place to end this episode. And also, like, in the show notes, I'm going to have your LinkedIn, how to subscribe to your newsletter, and the news stories that we talked about so people can read them. So, Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. We will be back again with this episode next season, I'm pretty sure.
Love it. I'm with it.
I can't wait. Yay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.